Like a hyperactive cat, B2B companies can get themselves into situations they struggle to get out of. In this talk, I'll go over some of the common mistakes and go over why they happen and what can be done instead. I'm targeting small to medium-sized teams that sell software directly to businesses, whether they are standalone enterprises or they exist inside a larger one. I also firmly have non-technical management in mind. I'm also operating under the assumptions that the goal here is to make money by producing effective software that solves a pain point. Wearing these rose-tinted techno-utopian glasses, I'm going to ignore things like company politics, favors for people you meet on the golf course, bribing government officials, and so on. That's for a different kind of consultant. I also won't be humoring the sales strategy of agree to everything a client wants and let tech figure it out. If sales is dictating your software development schedules, no one can help you. So the first mistake, too much software. Software is expensive, it's complicated, it requires discipline to do effectively. The last thing you want to do is make more of it than you need. And the smaller your dev team, the truer that is. Put your ego in check. Just do the simplest thing that solves your customer's pain point reliably. Don't get fancy. One common symptom of this is having mobile apps just for the sake of having mobile apps. In 2023, web apps work on all devices. They can record video, audio, get a user's geolocation, they can work offline, and they can be an icon on the home screen. So do you actually need 2 native mobile apps? You'll be spending a lot more man hours, not just in development time, but also wrestling with App Store bureaucracy and release processes. And let's be real, no decision makers in the industry you're targeting are idly browsing app stores to install high-cost B2B software on a whim. It just doesn't happen. Of course, I'm not saying to never make mobile apps. That would be ridiculous. What I am saying is it's an expensive decision that requires justification beyond we need native apps because everyone else has native apps and native apps. You need more than that. Of course, backend is not immune from over-engineering. Solutions with more microservices than developers are common. Now, some of you may look at this diagram and see a sophisticated, scalable software solution. I see a swamp that will swallow smaller teams. And again, let me play devil's advocate. Sometimes you need a service broker and a caching layer and multiple different kinds of data stores. But most of the time, you need to be honest with yourself and admit that a simple backend setup is more than enough. The mistake I will cover now is a team putting all their emphasis on the visible part of a solution, the tip of the iceberg, while neglecting the parts they don't understand. That is to say, most of the iceberg. The result is unbalanced technical teams and a myopic view of the product. Here's my hot take. Most teams have too many people in the front end and not enough people in the back end. It's easy to see why, right? Your app development is too slow. Front-end devs are the ones who actually make all the buttons and stuff, right? Just get more of them. But in balanced teams, there's enough back-end talent to serve data in the exact shape that front-end needs. But when back-end is overworked, front-end gets a crude lump of data that they then have to polish and transform. Instead of this transformation taking place on your servers, which are purpose-built for this task, they take place on your customers' devices, which are not. Poor battery life and a sluggish app is the end result. I know if you're not technical, it's hard to imagine what these strange creatures known as back-end devs actually do, as they scurry about muttering strange words like materialized views and eventual consistency. But they are absolutely vital, taking care of your customers' data and serving it quickly and efficiently to your front-end team. Make front-end's job easier and maintain a back-end front-end balance. And lastly in this category, management's obsession with how an app looks. Look, I get it. If you're not technical, an app's visual appearance is one of the few things about software development you're able to wrap your head around. But you holding forth over button position or color gradients doesn't help anyone. At best, it's irritating, and at worst, it's a deadly distraction when you don't yet have a working solution or even a product market fit. So if you have designers in your team, listen to them. They know more about design than you do. They know more about design than I do. The fact that you too are able to look at something doesn't give your opinion equal weight. And don't think I'm being a hypocrite here. I myself have two prehensile hands, and yet I humbly defer tactical decision making to auto mechanics, electricians and dentists, even though I'm paying them. They're the experts, not me. And of course, it doesn't actually matter what you think about the design. What matters is what your buyers think. And finally, people put up with some pretty damn ugly looking software if it solves an actual pain point. Being pixel perfect when you're still iterating on that solution isn't a good use of anyone's time. The third category of mistakes is the ill-advised rewrite. Despite being one of the most expensive and risky things any software company will do, big software rewrites are all too often executed with weak justification, unclear goals, and poor planning. But look, credit where credit is due, right? I'm delighted when a company tells me they have serious issues with their code bases. Partly for selfish reasons. I'm a consultant, no one brings me in when things are going great, but also because trying to convince someone in denial that they have a serious problem isn't a fun time for anyone involved. So if you recognize this, kudos to you. But if you don't and your feature velocity is slow to a crawl, it might be time to figure out why. Your programmers can always tell you what the problem is, but you have to take their proposed solutions with a grain of salt. Us programmers will always want to rewrite. I don't even know you and I want to rewrite your software. It's crap and it doesn't use my favorite technology. And if you do use my favorite technology, you've been using it wrong. Let's scrap it all, start again. But there is the small issue of time. If you couldn't find the time to properly maintain your existing software that's generating you revenue, where on earth are you going to find the time to work on brand new software that won't for quite some time? The answer is, you probably aren't. You're going to rush the rewrite and it's going to have its own brand new set of problems. You'll run over time, over budget, and find you've only implemented 90% of the functionality. So the old system ends up having to stick around. Congratulations, you now have 2 legacy systems. But there are alternatives. One simpler approach that gains you a lot is to simply update your existing tech stack to their latest versions. Working in Java 7 in 2023 is demoralizing for a development team. Now, Java 20 isn't exactly sexy, but it's a marked improvement. This goes for also old versions of PHP or C#. Forcing your devs to work with versions released back when they were juniors in high school is just awful for morale. People don't want to spend their career upskilling in dead technology. This is to say nothing of the fact that new versions of tools and languages can bring extensive performance and security improvements. Do not make yourself a target for malicious actors who can ruin your company's reputation. Stay updated, stay safe, and keep your talent. Older code bases also tend to become more scattered and disorganized over time. Modularizing your code base, that is, in a sense, making sure everything is in its place, unlocks a host of benefits. First off, modularized code is easy to understand, meaning ramp-up times for new staff members are shorter. Secondly, it's easy to test, which means less bugs and faster development. And lastly, it's easier to replace, which means if you do start a rewrite, it can often be done in manageable chunks. And there's no escaping it. With software maintenance, you need to spend time to save time. And no, your software in your company is no exception. Of course, not everything can be salvaged. If how you need your solution to work is radically different, it's probably time for a rewrite. If your tech is so old that everyone who knows it is about to retire or already has, it's probably time for a rewrite. And if it's so convoluted and poorly implemented that no one can even understand it, you may have to start again anyway. And that about wraps it up. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and dropping a like. If it sounds like I've been describing your company or team, I am available for consulting at the link in the description. Thanks for watching and take care.